Greetings, everyone. Hello. My name is Awande Mshotana, and I'm with my colleague.
I'm Lena Jakazi, a facilitator of People's Legal Center.
And we would officially like to welcome all of you who could make it to our wonderful event today. So Lena and I will be the MCs, and Lena will do the official welcoming.
Perfect. So I'd like to welcome everyone. Today we're at Bertha House, an activist hub that connects activists and organizations committed to developing social justice and redefining radical hospitality. We as People's Legal Center, if you don't know us, we're a public benefit organization founded in 2022 with the vision of creating a future where justice is accessible to all, where every community has the knowledge formally, the first being People's Law, who has invited you to this evening of celebration. As the educational branch, People's Law aims to equip community leaders and activists with a basic understanding of the law so that they can advocate for themselves and their communities. The second is our Community Advice Office, which was launched in June 2023, based at Philippi Village. It has grown substantially, and we have now launched our Satellite Advice Office in Guguletu. Branch, when operational, will be the Law Clinic, a future initiative that will be at the forefront of public interest law. Through the three branches, we aim to empower individuals and communities by providing the knowledge, tools, and support needed to engage and impact their lives.
Thank you so much, Lena. So the purpose of today is to celebrate the community leaders, activists that really took the initiative to be part of our course. And it's just a certificate celebration ceremony and to just acknowledge the commitment and effort that they gave to the course. And I'm one of the facilitators. I'm the head of education currently at People's Legal Center. So we are People's Legal Center and People's Law. We just interchange the names. So call us what you feel like. And we'd like to welcome everyone, the partners, the family members, our honored guests, and thank you for coming. So we have a little bit of a surprise if you have a copy of the program. So in our program, we did put the screening, right, of our impact documentary. So during the course of the year, we've been hearing wonderful stories from our community leaders and activists of how the course has impacted their work and their activism and empowering their own communities. So we decided to do a very short impact or testimonial documentary. It doesn't have a name yet. So working on this, we'd really like to appreciate Zakaria Mashele. He was one of the videographers for this and the directors. And also in her absence, Priya Patel, she couldn't make it today. And also thank you very much to Laddie Bosch, who decided to edit the documentary free of charge, pro bono that we call it. So because of time, just also to announce to everyone and also to welcome the people who are live streaming. We are currently live streaming the event through YouTube. We have international guests that are also watching us, so we'll also like to welcome you too as well. So within the next 25 minutes, we'll be hearing very impactful testimonials from the 2024 and 2023 cohort. I hope you will enjoy and watch and just get a feel what happens in class and how this course and how the organization itself works in communities with community leaders and activists. Thank you very much.
My name is Annelisa Ligunya, but I prefer to be called Annele, and I'm from Fuleni. After finishing my grade 12, obviously, I had to focus on life and other things. And then that's where I found Free Gender organization during 2020. Free Gender is a black lesbian organization that was first based in Khayelitsha when it started. And so basically we fight for hate crime, homophobia, what else? Transphobia and xenophobia. That's our main goals. Yeah. As an activist, I believe that it's important to know at least basics of the law, because our work requires us to go to courts, requires us to communicate with cops, requires us to check the constitution most of the time, because we're fighting for rights. So what rights are you fighting for if you don't understand what are you fighting for? It was very useful and it was new, the way that they taught us. With people's law, you talk, you say it, if you want to, you can even test it practically. So it's more like you're learning and you're doing it. You're learning while you're doing it. And obviously you're gonna make mistakes, but there are people who are gonna help you while you walk in that journey or while you take the steps.
My name is Bulelwa Gaza. I'm from Delft, but originally from King Williamstown in the Eastern Cape. I was involved with as a youth in the early 80s, most I was in high school. Then later on when I got to Cape Town, I was involved with the local structures. I got to work in the constituency office, the parliamentary constituency office. You have to be a jack of all trades. The next person comes in, has a problem with the labor issue. The next one has a problem with SASSA. The next one is the Department of Justice. I was interested. Initially, I wanted to be a lawyer when I grew up, but financially, I couldn't afford it. Then when I saw this paralegal course in people's law, I saw that actually my niece saw this one and said, this is what we've been wanted to do all along. Now, if I have a certain issue I'm dealing with in the community, I know how to research. I was taught that in people's law, how to research how something related to that case in particular, and also how to write legal letters, like in a good way. Also, the other big part that I took out of people's law is networking with different people from different organizations. Sometimes I don't have experience in housing, for instance, but now I know I can consult with someone from Housing Assembly. How do you deal with this? And I get help. There's lots of things I thought I knew and how to handle issues that changed a lot. For instance, in our communities, if something is wrong at the clinic, we think about doing. But that's not a solution, really. Then there's other ways of handling the issue effectively. Because if we toy today, it will be toy, then after a week it's quiet. Then if we handle it in a petition, for instance, legally, with the petition and stuff, even after 3 months, 6 months, we can follow up. This was not attended. We raised this issue on a certain date. We have something to refer to. We raised this on a certain date, but it was not attended. Then we take it further. We have evidence going back where we can say this is the steps we took. Then this is how far we have now.
My name is Kim Dykers. I'm from Tafelsig, Mitchells Plain, Cape Town. After I matriculated, I came to People's Law. Then I saw a job advertisement, and then I applied, then I got the job. That is at the Mitchells Plain Community Advice and Development Office, which I am still working at right now. So what I do, I am a behavioral modification facilitator. We've mainly focused on substance abuse, anti-bullying, and discipline. We go to schools, speak about those topics and the topics that falls under that to the grade 4s to 7s. And then when we see that the children have a behavioral issue, then we refer it to our coordinator when he will step in. And then if it's an issue for social development, and then they'll take the issue to social development. So we had a session on wills and estate, right? So people didn't know how to draft a will and all of that. So that is where that came in. And people didn't know that they can draft their own will. So that is also where my knowledge from the People's Law came in, and to tell them that you don't need to necessarily pay for a will. You can draft your own will with this requirements and all of that. I enjoyed all of the modules that we had, but mostly wills and estate. The marriages one, that one I enjoyed the most with the child's portion and all of that. first I didn't know, I didn't even know about the child's portion and that. So the marriages, why I say the marriages is because why I didn't know about the 5 different types of marriages, right? Then after that, then I knew about it. And like as a young lady going forward, now I know like the different types of marriages. If I do get married one day, I know that this is the procedures, I need to follow this and that. Yeah, so that was my favorite one.
My name is Isaiah Mombilo, and then I'm from Congo, DRC. So the work we do, it's a work of filling up a gap of so many matters which never been solved in so many years, as Congolese been here in South Africa more than 20 years. The gap is more about the information of the application of refugee process document, about the knowledge of law of South Africa, about the rights, knowing the rights and the law of South Africa in all aspects. And we realize that we cannot have that more without to come also in people law, because people law going to make us to become more professional, make us to become more knowledgeable, make us to become the people who can bring accurate information and also have a deep understanding of the law. Before, we used to speak about South Africa law without to make it to look like someone knows what you're talking about. In the case of maybe someone apply refugee ID, they didn't get a refugee ID. When they come here and wrote an email to the General Manager of Home Affairs to request, please look at this and this. If you have maybe so many cases similar, and then I had to make an appointment in Home Affairs to go there physically to speak face to face with the General Manager so that we can find a solution there immediately. So if it doesn't, so we escalate it, and if it's not, we also push to Parliament, in the Portfolio Committee of Home Affairs. Since we get the skill from the people law, I think it changed our way of dealing. I think since day one, and organize because what we do every week, once a week or two, we in a WhatsApp group where we give information and knowledge or educate people in the community, and then it's like a WhatsApp group of Congolese civil society, can be I think 400 people, and then also other group, and the people also other group. They always wait like Monday when 8:30 tonight, when the Congolese civil society is starting its plan of education, program education, and then they all listen, and then they all share. And it goes from Cape Town, Pretoria, everywhere, people starting, it becomes like a culture of whenever civil society says something, they all wait, the whole community. So because they believe that we give accurate information. And also what is amazing, it's people law give me now that feeling of being proud to read a lot, to read the law, to go deep. And then it's become a bit of reading now, law amendment, and it's pushed me even to look at what's going on, what it changed. So I become more way and then paying attention more than before, because which act, and I can link now acts, I can link now section, I can link now this, and I can make people to understand certain logic. And then that is the skills people will give it to us, and then we are transferring that as well.
My name is Jackie Poking, and I'm from Workup. My first political gathering was the launch of the UDF that I went to, and that was it. After that, I was no longer happy to be at home and hear the stories. I wanted to participate. Workup is one of the only residential areas. One, it's the oldest residential area in South Africa, and then it's one of the only ones still left within the city of Cape Town where poor people can live. Everywhere else, they've been removed. The struggles we are facing is, simply put, even though it's under the category of cultural struggles and traditions, simply put, it's the ability for people to be able to live where they've always lived and to practice traditions that has been handed down. So that is the struggle, to be able to live in an area that your ancestors has lived in, and to be safe, to feel that you can live there, not have to have this fear that with enough money, others can eventually force you out. Because of our struggles in Boerkaap, more and more it comes down to the knowledge of the law, to interpret it, to read it, and to understand it. I think the People's Law Course is extremely important and extremely needed. And the reason I say that is everyone should know what I know in terms of the law. Everyone. In every house there must be at least one person that understands what is going on in terms of the law. If people in the community know the law and know their rights, they will be better able to understand what to do. If I can give an example, when we were doing our heritage, so for a while before we started, people would say, oh, you guys don't understand heritage, you don't understand the act, you don't know, this is not how it works. And we're like, it's okay, we'll learn, it's fine. We'll have workshops, we'll discuss it. What we then did is, every week we would have workshops and discussions. So on a Friday we used to meet with the city's heritage department so that we could draw up our heritage protection overlay zone. So that by the time we compiled a heritage protection overlay zone, people understood what it was because it came from the bottom up. By the time we had 19 sites declared, people understood that. I found that before the scores, there are some things that was almost just accepted because that's what the regulation says. That's what, if the city says, but that's the law, that's the bylaw, you're like, oh, what can I do? The law says this. But now it's like, wait a minute. What bylaw says? Where is it? Let me see it. And somebody says to you, but the rule so and so. And then you can quote back and say, I've looked at that rule. That's not what it says. This is my interpretation of it. So now we're having a nice back and forth discussion. So it's very important, in my opinion, that activists join this course, do this course. It will only help them and their communities.
My name is Masizole. Konyela is the surname. I'm originally from the Eastern Cape. Right now I'm in Cape Town, based in Eastern Riviera. I've been actively involved in the HIV field for more than 20 years now. So I am a human rights activist with a special focus on HIV prevention. As much as law can be viewed as being expensive, but it can actually be accessible if we know how, or if we come together as a community. Currently, I am working with inmates, which is the Department of Correctional Services. The approach even there, it's always about safeguarding, the rights of inmates and ensuring that indeed DCS becomes a place of rehabilitation and corrections at the end of the day. When we think law, we think law jargons, legal jargons, Latin this, Latin that. At least the way in which the class was carried out. Even someone who does not have a background, a human rights background, it was easy for us all, to understand the content at the very same time to engage with the content.
My name is Natalie Rousseau and I'm from Ocean View. I've been employed in the corporate market for over 20 years, Telkom SA, OpenServe. But whilst being there, I have been ploughing back into my community because I live in the ghetto. We've got problems all over. So our main problem is food. Defining a paralegal would be, for me, in my own words, would be assisting people to the best of your abilities, being on ground level. As activists, we try and complete the race, but we are not skilled enough to complete the race. So what I learned here is run the race as far as you can and then ask for assistance.
Okay, my name is Lynn Phillips and I reign from Mitchell's Plain. I'm actually an anti-crime activist. for more than 30 years. I'm working for the Department of Local Government Community Development. I'm a community development practitioner. I'm also the regional coordinator for the Metro in that particular field, and it is based on my activism. These laws that we need to understand, and for that, I think that was my main purpose, is to understand the law and how do I use that law in order to better the lives of people in our communities that I serve. So when I oppose bail, specifically when it comes to murders of innocent lives, you need to quote the law in order to make it effective in court. I use the PI Act, specifically when it comes to unlawful evictions, and that assisted me a lot. The labor law, because I work with staff, and the laws needs to be implemented. If you work in government, you need to understand the legislation and policies, so you need to use that. And that actually, people's law actually opened my eyes, how to apply these laws. The other law that is prevalent for me is the Refugee Act, because I've dealt with xenophobia at the time, and that is the reason why this course has actually empowered me to deal with those type of matters. I'm taking the course further. I've actually trained volunteers as well as to how to do an affidavit, because I feel lifelong learning should happen all the time. The law is always been there, but we were too afraid to grasp or to go through it and analyze and equip yourself with it. But if you simplify it to our communities, I think people would be able to stand up and protect themselves and fight for their rights. This, for activists, is the best course that they could have, because then they would have a broader understanding of how the law works. I've dealt with a lot of sale and execution. I never knew that it can be stopped even in court, and that was what this course has taught me. I've spoken to the institution and particularly their lawyers, the institution's lawyers, where I've actually extended the term of the bond at a lower rate for the client so that they can't lose their house, and I used the law in order to do that. What the court actually just wanted was that there's an agreement on paper and how the person is going to pay, who's going to pay, which bank the money is going to come from, all those things. And that is how I've actually successfully done quite a lot of those type of cases. If it wasn't for people's law, I would have been that submissive person again, and introvert and not trying to challenge particularly attorneys. And I've done that. Through this course, I could do that because I then became very firm on the matters, legal matters that I had to deal with. A paralegal would give advice, and there is no cost attached to it, as to guide a citizen in the right direction according to the law and what the law is saying. That is basically for me what the paralegal's function is.
My name is Papa Mamabocha. I'm an activist and a human rights defender from Equal Education. I come from Kailicha, Makai, Mandela Park. And Equal Education in 2018 started to expand our footprint to institutions of higher learning. Then there was this opportunity for me to join People's Law. Like, okay, this is an opportunity for me that when I engage with my comrades in institutions of higher learning, I can at least at some point bring my legal sort of perspective. My favorite module has to be the Regulation of the Gatherings Act, because I think a big part of that regulation regulates how activists should go about with their different demonstrations. So I can take this again to our students at uni, and when we plan these gatherings and mass actions, we know that this is a line that we should think along legally. But also a skill that I learned in this whole program has to be like critical thinking and also writing. We grew up with this idea of looking at the law professional as far away, detached from the communities. I think it's important to have sort of paralegals in community paralegals, people who live with these people who live with ordinary people in these communities, so that they're easily accessible, so that also they're able to understand law, but not law from a bigger perspective, but law that like impacts them, regulations that impacts them at a community level.
My name is Nozo Kotsoki Balendlela. I'm originally from Eastern Cape. I'm Tata, but I moved in Cape Town when I was 11 years old, so I stayed in Woodstock for the rest of my life. So right now, as I'm talking, I'm staying in Woodstock at the occupation there. The name of the occupation is Bertha House. When I was staying in Cape Town with my aunt before, we were evicted then. Then after the eviction, we were not having any place to go and stay to. There was a sale of Tafelberg site, it was in Sea Point. Then this when RTC was formed, because we were the people that were stopping the sale of the Tafelberg. The Tafelberg is one of the big sites that we were fighting for to build affordable houses, as the houses is an issue in South Africa. One of the things that we are fighting for as Reclaim the City is the land and the housing. And then I wanted to know the laws of the land. I wanted to know the laws of the housing. The skills that I learned out the course, I would say one of them is how to write affidavits. That is number one. Number two, how to help people for the maintenance. Because I did that, and then also how to help people to look for the social grants. I'm having 3 cases where they was successful. One, I helped someone from the occupation who was looking for the grant. I helped her how to do it, which forms, where to go to SASSA, which forms must ask there, where to go from the SASSA to go to the clinic, which daughter, what times, and then I assisted her on that. And then that was successfully, she's on grant right now. Number 2, I helped one of the ladies, one of my friends who was looking for the social the maintenance, but then she started the process before, but because of the process, these places you have to follow the line, you have to do this, then she didn't know what to do. Then now that I was here, I have the knowledge, I know where to go, what to do, what forms are needed, what documents are needed. Then I assisted her also. Then also her application was successful. Right now her child is receiving the support from the father. The third one, it was the affidavit. That one is just to file the affidavit for someone there by the occupation who was having this thing of gender-based violence. So now we're like, she must go and then open the case there by the police station, but then there you have to write the affidavit to say that before you go to the court to draw the court order for the person, so that mustn't be close to the person. So then I did that for her, then also that one was successful. How I would say all the sections, I love them, especially the marriage ones, because us Black Africans, we lack the knowledge of the marriages. When we are talking about the marriage, we just talk about the marriage, we're happy that I'll get married, and then at the end of the day, you don't know what you are putting yourself through. I would say the course is for everyone who's committed, who love their communities, because this course is about you giving back to the community. It's not the thing that you're gonna keep it for yourself. You must take it, get the knowledge, and then go and give back to the community. So I would say it's for everybody who's willing, who's committed, who loves the community, who want to make the change to the community also. Before, when I was evicted as Tsuki and my aunt, if I did know what I know now, I wasn't supposed to be evicted that time, because I stood up myself saying no. And then I will know what procedure must I follow. You understand? So now doing this paralegal course, and I'll be, as I'm saying that, I will invite youth, will have a better understanding also of law and of other things. We won't just do because of we want to do it. At least now there will be some guidance on doing things. Also, the constitution of South Africa is standing on our side, saying that you can't evict someone, leaving someone outside. So that's what I'll use also constitution and then use also the laws of South Africa.
People's Legal Center, increasing access to justice. So once more, thank you so much to the activists that agreed to do the interviews. I would like to just make one announcement. This is just a rough edit, right? So Larry will continue editing and put on some sugar and spice to make it, but we just wanted to show to the community at large the work we do and how we do the work and how it impacts the people. So thank you so much. But we've heard from people on screen, right? But this year we took a leap of faith, and we've kind of like also wanted to measure our impact really now in terms of the course and also just the caliber of the community paralegals that we train. So I would like now to invite on stage Sihle Lusizi, one of our 2024 graduates, and she'll talk more about herself and the wonderful work that she's doing at Philippi Village.
Good evening, and thank you so much for being here and availing yourself to be with us today. I greet you all with love, respect, and peace. As the panel, as all of my participants that we've been on this journey together since the beginning of this year, we met at a stage whereby our constitution was also changing and we needed to adapt to everything that was being implemented at that time. As paralegals, we took the knowledge and taken it to heart. It lightened up a flame of passion that made us realize that education, it is indeed liberation. We liberated not only ourselves, but the people that we came from. As a paralegal myself, I stand here with so much honor and pride to look at the faces that I've been with, how much we have evolved and changed our mindsets and how we have unlearned all of the things that we've learned from the struggle and how our fallen heroes, our unsung heroes that carried the torch for us to be here today. So I stand here and salute of those unsung heroes and saying that we are still carrying the torch, as this is a bonfire that you are all sitting in. The flame that is giving us hope and courage is that we are seeing testimonials from other people around our communities, seeing that the work that you are doing, it is needed and it is much greatly accepted with gratitude. It is not an easy journey to work with people, but because we are a diverse nation, we have come to learn and understand that we are a cultural diverse country, so that we need to also learn about each other's cultures and how we have came about, how we have risen from the grassroots to where we are today. It hasn't been an easy road, because sometimes it is hard to point out to those who are accountable, to tell them that you are accountable. You must go back and rebuild the nation that you have collapsed because of empty promises. And today we stand with so much hope and pride, because we understand that we have a backup system. We have a panel of experts that are around us, teaching us each and every day, who are always availing themselves, even if it's a minute or an hour, to come in to give us wisdom and workshops that are very vital to our communities. So with my work at the Philippi Village, we had a huge backlog of people who were trying to get assistance from SASSA and other state departments that were unable to come to us and be accountable. But through the knowledge that we have been given by People's Law, how to write petitions, how to write legal documents, it has helped us at least to try to bring to bridge the gap between leadership and communities, because now we are able to advise our community members to go straight to the people that are our leaders and face them face to face and have conversations that are hard and seek for truth, because the truth that we are needing is the truth to be liberated, not to be handpicked, to be puppets to others, so that we can set a false narrative that we are free of, yet we are not free if our minds are still in chains of not being liberated to stand for ourselves and be self-liberated. So with the work of Philippi Village, it has been my utmost gratitude, honor to be part of the work of helping people that I have less fortunate or even not even know about the laws of our country, how they can be used to assist them to better themselves and to put them in a better conditions in terms of service deliveries and other things. And also in labor systems, we have a lot of cases with labor laws. We have employers who are actually turning a blind eye to our laws, even though we have such institutes who are vocal to people that you must express yourself and be able to use your rights to fight for your own battles at work before you even have the mindset to attempt to go to and attain. You have the ability to voice out by researching the laws of the country. So with the help of the PV and People's Law, we thank you so much for your assistance in everything, and we look forward to a brighter future on this bonfire. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sihle. Sihle joined us in 2024 as an activist from SEED who works closely with environmental development, and it has been a pleasure and an honor to see her flourish as a community paralegal working now at Philippi Village, using the knowledge and the skills that we equipped her with during the course. So we're grateful for Sihle, and we hope for many more opportunities for our community paralegals to flourish under our community advice officers. Next, we'll be hearing from Odette Geldenhuys. Briefly, Odette is a public interest legal expert with an overarching career interest in access to justice. As a documentary filmmaker and a participant in the independent film industry, she has also advised on aspects of entertainment law. She founded the first pro bono clearinghouse in South Africa in 2006. Prior to that, she was responsible for implementing the Justice Center model for all Legal Aid South Africa. Odette held a leadership position with the Legal Resources Center and a project officer position with the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights, and she'll be joining us tonight to speak on access to justice through legal empowerment and education. Please give it up for Odette Geldenhuys.
I need to start off by just saying a huge congratulations, and I want each and every one of you to just give yourself a big, big applause. I'm standing here in front of 30 people who have gone through an amazing journey. I can just imagine at points it was very hard, but you saw it through, and just from the testimonies that I heard on the screen this evening, I can hear what a worthwhile journey it was. But yeah, so really congratulations. It is such a big honor to stand here and be with you after you've done this yourselves. No one else did it. You did it. So congratulations. Then secondly, I also just want to say that it really is a very, very big honor for me to be here. Somewhere along the line, I had worked at Legal Resources Center, and part of the work that we did then was to work with community advice officers, and those were as you can see, I'm quite old, so I can still speak about like during apartheid and after apartheid. Before 1994, we would go to a place called Driefontein in the then Eastern Transvaal, and we would drive like for half a day to get there, and literally kind of consult with people under a tree and sort of do, what you were saying about writing the letters and labor issues with farm workers, social grants. So just that power of writing the letter. But I also wanted to just have another remark because of that link between filmmaking and law. And it's the power of the word. It's the power of speaking, and it's the power of being, and it's the power of showing one's face. And whether that is in a documentary film, whether that's as a paralegal, whether that's as a community member, as a community activist standing up, for me, that's where the two overlap. It's the power of telling the story truthfully. And that's what one has to do, and that's what we do in law, is to tell the story truthfully. So in a way, what all of you have said, the activists who gave their views on the documentary, you've already said what I wanted to say. So I'm in a way just kind of summarizing what you've already said. So please excuse me for that because you have all been so eloquent. So I really want to, I can just summarize it in 5 points. The one is unique knowledge, the concept of the village, networking, the power of law, scales of justice, and the rule of law. So to start off with unique knowledge, and that is what you have now gained through the paralegal course, is unique knowledge that no one else has. And yes, your job now is to share it with the people who come to you. But often people say to me, well, like for example, as lawyers we can do pro bono work, or we can go and say paint a creche. And people say to me, but isn't that far easier to paint a creche? And then I say, yes, it might be easier, but I'm the only one who has this legal knowledge. And so it's my responsibility to share that knowledge. And I was so interested and captivated by what people have said about the kinds of areas of law which has kind of really caught your passion. Family law, estates, those were the ones that stood out. Housing, land issues, those are very, very, very big issues. And if each of us go into each of those unique areas of law, we will just make that difference around us. So celebrate the fact that you now that you're the recipient of this unique knowledge, and then with that comes the responsibility, and which I can see just in all of you of wanting to share that. And apply that for the good. So that's the concept of unique knowledge. The next is also, which came up in some of the comments on in the documentary, and that's the concept of the village and of networking. So for me, it was so beautiful to hear people say, as paralegals, you work with other people, you've got trusted advisors. And for me, that is how we all in law have to work together, is because we all form part of a structure, of an infrastructure. So there's the paralegals, there's in a big law firm like ours, we have admin staff, we have lawyers, then there's the advocates, and all of that makes one team. So often one doesn't have the luxury of having the team with you right away, but it's about working and thinking all the time about who's my village, who's my network, and yes, pick up the phone and ask somebody, I'm stuck, I don't know what this is. And I'm sure you've heard on the course often, there's nothing like a stupid question. And for me, that's just one of the most beautiful things when people phone me and say, I don't know about, say, adoption. Then I say, I also don't know about adoption, but let's think through it logically. Let's think through it. We have a problem. What's our problem? Is it because the child is there a problem because the parents can't adopt this child? Let's first understand the problem. And then let's go and look at the law. And I mean, I loved what people were saying about getting so excited about the words of the law and getting so excited about the amendments to the law, because that's where the magic lies. And I can't see the face now, but the person who said, the activist from Bertha House said, and now I can engage and I can say, I've gone to read the section, and I know that it doesn't say what you say, what it says. And so it's really that sort of approach where you just very logically go through an area where you haven't thought about it. And maybe just to say, you know, as part of that village and networking, all lawyers are specialized. There's not one lawyer who knows everything. So please don't sort of hit yourself like on the back or be sort of, oh, I don't know this question or that question. None of us do. Most of the time, lawyers have become very specialized, and so you have to go to this one and that one to get the answer. But that's why we have to work together. We have to collaborate. So the concept of always staying within a network. The next point I wanted to just touch on is the power of law, and I think you've also spoken about that in different ways in your testimonies. But I just want to remind people who were not born before 1994 that part of the way in which apartheid was overcome and was fought was with the law. That was the interesting thing about, and still is about South Africa, is that we've got very clearly written laws, and so lawyers and activists, community workers could use the laws of the time to fight the laws of the time. And that's how when people were in solitary confinement under security detention, some lawyers used rights in other laws to get the lawyers and to get the families to those detainees. That's how, when there was the past laws, slowly the wives could come and join their husbands because the laws had been used to kind of find a loophole and a way of getting the wives. And so once the wives could come and join the husbands in the urban areas, then the society's changed. And I'm going to get to that point just now. So another just point I wanted to make, and it's also based on what somebody here said, is part of the power of the law is empowerment, and having empowered yourselves and using the laws to empower others. So there's so much in that concept of the power of law. And that, I'm sort of very happy that you've already brought out that concept of empowerment. The second last point I wanted to just touch upon is, we all know the scales of justice. And we know Lady of Justice, and she's been drawn in very many different ways, often like this. Because the way I interpret that is because we have an imbalance of power in our societies. Not necessarily an imbalance in the law, but it's an imbalance of people with power, which often goes with money, and then people who are disempowered, don't have the jobs, who don't have the money, and those scales of justice has to be used to help those who are sitting on this side of the lower end of the scale to bring up the scales of justice. So once again, a concept with so much content to it, those scales of justice. It's a woman, it's scales, it's a woman who has been drawn smiling with a very serious face, with a crying face, sometimes sort of almost destroyed, lying down with a sword to her neck. The sword has been taken out of her hand. For me, another part of the scales of justice is also the concepts of rights and responsibilities. Coming from a rights background, a constitutional background, we very much focus on rights. But if we also focus too much on rights, then we also make the scales tip, and then the responsibilities get left behind, and we just in an imbalance. That's all I really want to say about it, is that and that imbalance has to be addressed. And then finally, just the concept of rule of law. Now, so much has been said about the rule of law. People use it in a constructive way. People use it in a negative way. So, as I said earlier on, part of what we had during apartheid is we had a society ruled by laws, and so people have used the rule of law to say, but it's wrong because look at it, there are these laws that kind of sit on top of people. But I think there's another way of looking at it, and I think one must always be critical about anything you say and anything you think about. Always think of, and that's, I think, part of what you would have learned in this course is, don't always stop with the first thing that you're thinking. Always think, is there another way of thinking? Is there another way that maybe will get me to a different solution? It might make the problem more complicated, but let me put that in this sort of rule of law context. I think for me another aspect of the rule of law is that by having laws, which is written with very specific words in specific sections that we all can go and read, it does apply equally to people. When it doesn't apply equally is when somebody has taken the power to themselves to then take away the equal application to you or somebody else. And then one has to fight with that person or that agency or that political party or that government or that church to say, no, the law applies equally and you can't make it apply to them but not to us. So for me, that's part of the rule of law is there's a law that should apply to everyone. I think the other point that has also been touched upon, and I think it was it by you who had spoken about the amendments to the law, the person on in the video, is that law is not static. And how does that work? Law actually eventually does reflect what happens in society. So, but people say, but law takes so long to change. And that's also true because it has to go through this process of society coming to a point of understanding it's time for us to change, it then having to go to Parliament having to go through its processes, it then being written in that fancy legal language, and it then becoming a law. But it does get there, and I think we can all think of examples. So examples that's coming to my mind now is before 1994, a man and a man couldn't get married. A woman and a woman couldn't get married. There were great limitations on adoptions. Recently, there was a change to the maternity leave, where now if it's still 4 months and 10 days, but if the Constitutional Court, and we're holding thumbs, confirms this change, then what it will mean is that if you have a mother who is, feels that as soon as the baby is strong enough and she has got more earning power, she can go back to work, and the man can stay and and I can see you don't agree, and that's fine. And you know what? That is so fine, because all the change does is it gives people options. It's not saying this is how it must be. It's saying if you want to have a choice, you can have it. The same way, if a man wants to marry a man, and I don't like it, you don't like it, it doesn't matter, because it just gives other people a choice. And that's what's beautiful about our society, and that's beautiful about how laws change, because it just creates more choices for people to live who they are, and according to how they feel they can be their best selves in South Africa. I'm going to give a last example just of how the laws can change. So I don't know how many of you do criminal law, but for you who do criminal law, you'll probably know that in a criminal case there are only two parties in the court, and that's the justice system, the prosecutor, and there's the accused. But the person who's the victim, who's the complainant, who's had something stolen, who's had their house burnt down, who was badly treated by the police, who was assaulted, who was raped, they're not a party in the court. They're just a witness. So in our law, that's how it is. And as somebody said, but things don't have to always be just because the law says. So slowly, what we're now developing in our law is something that's called a watching brief. In some other countries, that's already written into the law. So we are going to court, we're sitting there watching the process on behalf of the victim. And we're seeing how what information the prosecutor needs in order to better prosecute the case for the benefit of the victim. So that's just one small example I want to give. So this is your evening. We need to see those certificates, and I want to see all of you, and I want to give each of you another round of applause. So thank you very much for having me here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Odette. I'd like to call up Andries Vermillion, who will be speaking on behalf of the Board of Directors.
Good evening, everyone. I was asked just to say a few words on behalf of the board and I suppose the executive on what People's Law has done in the past year, what we're aiming for next year. So I'll be quick. This is only 10 pages. There's a lot, actually, Odette, that you've said and that our participants in the documentary have said that resonates a lot with what I want to say here, so I'll probably be a bit brief. But you start on a more serious note, why we are here. I don't need to tell anyone in this room that we live in what is by most measures the most unequal country in the world. Being in Cape Town, that also probably means that we live in the most unequal city in the world. This is just to highlight the importance, the crucial importance of paralegal skills. Skilled paralegal activists, activist paralegals, they bridge that gap between the most vulnerable communities and the often impenetrable bureaucracies of the state's judicial and administrative systems. Tonight, we celebrate the 27-odd participants that finished the course in this year. This is an increase from 16 participants in 2023. And in 2025, we will hope for 60. So the organizations that are represented here that have not had their, any of their members come join us for the course, please do so. You can see the proof is in the pudding there. But the numbers are not the whole picture. We've come to recognize that in addition to education, to the more structured course, the success of a paralegal in the field is in large part determined by the extent to which they gain practical experience, in the extent to which they're supported by the rest of their paralegal cadres, and the extent to which that continuous sharing of knowledge and resources and stories takes place even after the course is done. So in that spirit, we launched in 2024, July this year, what we call the Alumni Network, which is a network of past participants, paralegal cadres that have finished the course and come from, as you've seen, all sorts of different organizations and backgrounds. And they do this. They provide the support, the networking, the skills, the shared stories, the common struggles that are required to do this work. We're very excited about the Alumni Network program. I might just add there that, yes, one does see a wide proliferation of different causes that emerge in the work that our paralegals do. This is one aspect of people's law's work that's important. We aim to always remain only skills-based. This leaves it open, the skills of letter writing, affidavit writing, researching, that kind of thing. This leaves the course open for this wide range of interests to be represented. And I think what you find then in a body like the Alumni Network, or even in class, is a very interesting and very powerful sort of melting pot of interests, where commonalities between widely divergent struggles are recognized and can be collectively spoken about and pursued and, tackled. I cannot skip over another very important link in this access to justice chain, our advice office at Philippi Village, led by Pelokazi. I don't see her now. She's done a sterling job there. This is also where Sihle has been interning as one of the first former participants to, be formally employed by People's Legal Center as a paralegal. With regard to workshops, we always aim to increase the footprint. Now, we know that justice and change it tries to grow in the invited spaces created by, most often, the government to attempt to reach the people. But this is not the most effective place. In our view, the invented spaces, those community groups, structures, networks that most of our participants come from, these are where real change happens. So PLC has a mandate to continue extending our hand out to other communities that we haven't had participants from before, in order to conduct these sort of ad hoc legal workshops on whatever issue a community might be facing. In 2023, this program was new. We conducted below 10 workshops. This year it was 30. In 2025 rather, we aim to push those numbers up quite a bit. Then finally, the piece of the puzzle that's the closest to my heart, not the closest, is we hopefully, I know I said this last year, but hopefully by January this year, January 2025, we will have an active law clinic that can sort of beat down the doors of that most alienating of invited spaces, the courtroom. These are notionally separate programs, but they feed into each other in a manner that creates what we are slowly starting to build, an ecosystem of access to justice. The village, if you will, that Odette was speaking about. Except we are inviting not only the law firms and the advocates into the village, but everyone. So this evening we look back on 2024, but we also ask everyone here, organizations, participants, alumni, partners, to join us in 2025, what promises to be PLC's best year yet. Yes, V, I see the time. Thanks, everyone.
Amandla. Amandla. Kawetu. That Amandla sounded so English. I think it was because so much English has been spoken. Mandibulele kakhulu ngezithethi zethu zonixolela Andres izithethi isiXhosa. Bulele kakhulu ngezithethi ezibenathi neendwendwe zethu ezisandofika. Baie dankie Andres for die woorde, ons waardeer dit. This is how multilingual we are and how multilingual we are in class as well. So we try and teach law in isiXhosa, English and Afrikaans. And so we also have something up that we would like to play. I just want to confirm with the streaming guys. So we've talked a lot, but we haven't really experienced, okay, what the journey of a paralegal can be like. We've had people's testimonials, and now we've sort of like created a very short motion graphic that illustrates what happens in class, after class, where do we get the people, and how people can actually join the course. Does that make sense? Yeah? So if we can play the live stream, if the guys are ready, I'm going to get the cue from them. Right? Okay, thanks. Increase access to justice. Our aim is to produce community-based paralegals that can provide informed legal guidance to those in need. The People's Legal Center Paralegal Skills Program is committed to development of community leaders and activists of social justice as they support their communities through legal training and assist communities to efficiently navigate justice and administrative systems. So who's eligible? If you think your organization or community would benefit from having a community paralegal, you should apply to be part of our course. You should have basic reading and writing skills and have an interest in law, politics, and South African history. All you need to do is submit a CV, a copy of your ID, and a letter explaining your involvement in your community to info@peopleslegalcenter.org. You can even send a recording of yourself explaining your community work. Once we review your application, the interview process begins. The driving force of this course is to ensure that the applicant is active in their community, pursues social justice, and will use the skills gained for the betterment of their communities and organizations. Now let's get to the good part. Once selected, you can meet your fellow participants. There are weekly in-person classes on Mondays and Wednesdays in the evening from 5:30 to 8:30 at Bertha House in Mowbray. The course takes place over 5 months and participants will complete 5 modules each. 3 modules are compulsory and 2 are elective. The 3 compulsory modules are Law and Power, Debt, and Community and Constitution. The Law and Power module introduces basic legal concepts. We also analyze how the law can be used to either oppress or liberate people and how it can be a tool to effect structural changes. In the debt module, we learn about the history of debt and the options available to people to manage their debt. Finally, in Community and Constitution, we examine how community organizations can create their own constitutions. We focus on the principles of accountability and participatory democracy to create strong, lasting community structures that can effectively communicate with the state. For your elective modules, you have the choice of 2 out of the following 4 modules. In refugee rights, we address the causes of xenophobia and unpack national and international law that protects asylum seekers, refugees, and immigrants. The queer rights module examines existing rights for queer people and how they were won. This sheds light on how we can protect the lives and rights of the queer community. In labor law, participants learn about the foundational laws of the employer-employee relationship. After this module, participants will be able to navigate the CCMA and help people advocate for their labor rights. Finally, there is the module on family law, wills, and estates. This takes participants through the various forms of marriage and inheritance in the South African legal system. At the end of the course, participants will be able to articulate the issues in their community and identify legal routes to find a solution. Other skills we cover include drafting letters, affidavits, letters of demand, and statements, following up with clients and having them evaluate their effectiveness as a paralegal. Alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, particularly negotiation, mediation, and counseling. The critical thinking skills to analyze facts and evidence to formulate an argument. Understand the limits of a paralegal and know when to use a solution or referral-based approach to an issue. When you finish the course, People's Legal Center will award you with a certificate acknowledging the skills acquired through this course. This gives you the opportunity to join our alumni network. Our alumni network gives you access to the community leaders and activists who've also completed the course. This gives you the possibility to collaborate through networking, mentorships, workshops, events, and seminars. We also work with tertiary institutions to expose the alumni to student engagements to encourage further education. People's Legal Center aims to increase access to justice. Working with our participants, we want to improve the lives of the people in our communities through legal empowerment. We believe in building a movement of community activists with paralegal skills that will inform and act on behalf of others. People's Legal Center, increasing access to justice.
Is it on? Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much. Finally, we get to the best part of the evening, celebrating our community paralegals for their achievements and work in 2024. All right, just for logistical purposes, I'm going to call Awande to the stage, who will be helping with the handout of the certificates. I'll then call Odette to join us, as well as Ndwanano, the chairperson of our board, to join us while we hand over the certificates and recognize the achievements of our community paralegals. Awesome. For outstanding attendance, this certificate is awarded to those who obtained a percentage of 85% or above in attendance for the community paralegal course. Asanele Mbandab. Bulelwa Gaza. Colleen Fredericks. Elizabeth Hartneck. Lamla Nguka. And an honorary recipient for obtaining the course is Upununu, who joined all the classes. He is by far our youngest community paralegal, a record that is yet to be broken. Pelisa Mgweba. Shamim Benjamin. Vimbai Watambwa. In recognition of those who successfully attended the community paralegal course, this certificate is awarded to Annalisa Lugunya. Ariane Mukidi. Asumini Omari. Diana Bongo. Likona Jamel. Luco Mbombo. Luyanda Fire. Kanya Buke. Mlandeli Jange. Natalie Rousseau. Dombovuyo Bengu. Sihle Lusizi. Silu Mlandu. Tamsamqa, see you. Vivian Weingard. In their absence, we award these certificates of attendance to Nosipiwe Toshana, Kaele Tumateta, Nobaxabiso Brenda. And last, but definitely not least, our comrade from Equal Education, Upapa Mambochwa. Please come up and fetch your stage. Thank you to our shakers for your services.
Amandla, comrades. Yo, do you know how relieved I am we're done with the formal procedures? I can be myself. But at least we have enough time. So now, in apologies for his absence, on the program we had Zaki Ahmad for the vote of thanks, but he's not here. He's not feeling well. But on behalf of him, Zaki Ahmad is our founder and one of our non-executive directors. So he's the brainchild behind this whole concept. And we are just making sure that it continues and is sustainable. So I'd like to thank the partners that we've worked with. Firstly, thank you so much to Bertha House, to George. George right there. George made... I know throughout the years, we've been friends and enemies with George, with using the space. But he's been very patient with us, and thank you so much for setting up the space, always on time. Thank you to the kitchen staff, Chef G. Know that they are preparing some meals for us. Thank you to Unobe Sutu, always approving our requests. And thank you to the communications officer of Bertha Spaces, Utembela, always gossiping about us. And thank you so much to Philippi Village, one of our key partners in terms of our access to justice, for hosting our community advice office. You are noted. Thank you so much to Unite Behind, Movement for Social Justice and Change, and thank you so much to Black Sash. In absentia, Black Sash gave us a wonderful opportunity this year to be part of the National Dula Oma School of Paralegalism, where People's Law actually trained paralegals throughout of South Africa at a national level, and we were well received. And thank you so much also to Tilting Futures. Tilting Futures invited us to host a workshop with 45 international students from all over the world, from how many countries? From 28 countries that actually received a workshop from People's Legal Center. So it was people from all over. They really understood how we approach the law. They understood South African law. So that was proof and testament to us that what we're doing is actually increasing access to justice. Thank you so much to Scalabrini as well. Scalabrini is a refugee rights organization. They really partnered with us. Thank you to Incarceration Nations Network. We've done some bit of work with them. Thank you to Stellenbosch Ubuntu Learning Community, Dr. Nell over there. Dr. Nell allowed People's Legal Center to have an information session at Stellenbosch University with the law clinic students. Also, thank you to UCT's SLSJ, Students for Law and Social Justice. Thank you to probono.org. The regional manager, Marcy, is here. Just a wave. Thank you so much to the Dwars Rivier Community Advice Office. They come all the way from Franschhoek, from close to Boshendal Farm. Hello, Dwars Rivier. And another huge big thank you to Toonie Animations. So the info motion graphic that we saw was actually designed and created by Toonie Animations. Toonie Animations, that collaboration came through Bertha House with us using the space. We just like, we have this idea, and they raise their hands that we can assist and we can work with you. And then thank you so much to the participants, the community leaders, the activists. Apologies if I didn't say thank you to you, but thank you so much if I didn't name you by name, and you're one of our key strategic partners, and the organizations that actually avail these community leaders to be part of this course. It has been not an easy year. As Andres said, this year we started with our alumni chapter, which means it involves continuous learning of these community leaders and activists with the paralegal skills. So next year will be a full year. We went to the Bertha retreat with them for 3 days and 3 nights. And it was such a wonderful experience of using Bertha spaces for us to be creative and collaborate more and come up with fresh ideas. So next year we'll also be launching the alumni charter, not the constitution. So yeah, we have wonderful works in the pipeline, and thank you all for coming. So I know we've been sitting now for about some 2 hours. I've been here, 1.5 hours. So we do have some refreshments for those who'd like a nice treat from the Bertha kitchen staff, from Chef G. Chef G has prepared something for us, and Rowan over there, hi Rowan. Rowan will coordinate how the food arrangements will work. So we'll be serving food in 2 separate venues. If you have a choice, right? It's the same food, right? It's the same food. You have a choice. You see where Akolile is standing? Say hi, X. So if you would follow X, you will find that they are serving food there. And also if you would follow Rowan on that other side, you'll find that they are serving food. One but not least, I see a gentleman there, Luke. Say hi, Luke. So, you know, I was saying to Lena just now, doing this thing, I miss Luke so much because Luke Reed was part of the founding team of People's Legal Center, so he actually started this whole thing when it began. But now he's furthering his studies, he's doing his master's, and he's such a good stage manager that with Luke, you would never see him in the room, but everything would run so smoothly. And through his experience and training, that's how we managed to do this even without him. So thank you so much, Luke. Last but not least, thank you to the People's Legal Center team. Lena, Andres, I've found brothers and sisters to work with. V, the camera person there. So watch out for your nice pictures. You can ask V to take pictures of you. And then who else? Sisanda, Kim, Nick. Thank you so much, Christine, Nick. So thank you to everyone who's part of the team, the board of directors of People's Legal Center, and we hope to continue this year. And yeah, let's enjoy the festivities. So there's 2 venues for food, there'll be refreshments, and just also network. See people that you think you can collaborate with and share ideas or what you can contribute to People's Legal Center. Thank you so much for the evening.